See what's the talk of the town. Just going down the word on the curve. You heard me. Here in Southern California, it is a beautiful day today. It's actually a warm day, not hot, just warm, lovely. To be out and about, enjoying yourself. Just make sure you're aware of your surroundings because it is the weekend, and it definitely gets treacherous. Just wanted to hop on, chop it up with the folks, see what's good in the hood. Now, for those who are curious, I did drop a video on my other channel, right? A battle rap reaction. If you guys want to scope that out, two talented individuals bringing their skills on the mic. One new northerner. It's my first time hearing his music. He was actually really good, really, really good. One of the best that I have heard from Northern California. Yes, he definitely is skillful with the wordplay. What's cracking like in Derek? What you getting yourself into, my boy? The homie Lil Rich up in the building. We feeling good. We feeling good. How about you guys? How's your guys' Saturday going? You already know we chilling like a villain. Oopsie. Oh, what did I do? Getting ready to make the Skrilla. That's right. The homie Sinaloa is definitely up in the building. Hey, likewise, carnal. Que dice la buena vida? Todo el tiro, como gallo giro. Ya sabes, más. Trabajando como siempre. Pues no queda otra, la vida de pobre. Como dicen, queríamos norte. Ah. Simón Ivo, what's good with you? Pretty good. Had a new cafe spot earlier. That's good, bro. Good. I know. I like small businesses too, bro. Sometimes people be surprised that they have some good shit. Even like these little small restaurants, hey, they be legit though. They hook you up more than the fucking the fast food chains and shit. You want it? En el juego? It's a little busy, but it's good. It's good. It's stable. It's stable. We're not overworked, but there's still pretty decent size of work. The homie Mr. Pasa is definitely up in the casa for the raza. ¿Qué onda, hijo? Eso es todo, carnal. Pues qué bueno. Bald. Actually, no. Actually, I have hair right now. I actually need to shave. Well, I guess for people outside of the United States or outside of California, maybe it comes off strange seeing a man bald. Considering coming from the area of Los Angeles, it's actually quite normal, right? But like other parts of the world, I guess it's rare to see that kind of stuff. So I see people, they treat their hair like if it's like so important to them, like they would die if they were to start losing their hair, which I never understood that, but I guess I actually can't wait for that to start happening. That when that way I don't have to shave so much. We're actually waiting for that moment to happen. But other people, nah, bro, that would be probably the worst thing. And I'm just right there really? In Spanish. Órale, eso es todo. Yeah. Talent, a lot of talent, a lot of skills. Especially when they could do it, whether either English or Spanish. Really, really good. That's what I'm saying. Chicano rappers have an advantage when it comes to the rapping skills, right? Because they can jump from English to Spanish, right? It gives them a more variety of words to play with. It legitimately gives them double the ammo. They probably know how to use it. Smaller cafe shops are way better than Starbucks. They actually prepare the drink. Oh, I bet, bro. They put a lot of heart and soul up in that bitch. Yeah, like Starbucks, like how they have to make everything like quick, like in and out, in and out, in and out. Right? They really can't take the time to. But somehow, I mean, people still like that shit. I roll up and be like, "Hey, can I get an horchata?" Like, okay, like what? I can't kill the rat in the house. Serio? Well, that's what they're for. Shit. Nothing gets away from a cat. Those motherfuckers are fast. You know any vatos from El Primos? El Primos? No, I don't think of El Primos. ¿Click a los primos or you mean just primos? Click a los primos, yes. But you know homies from Chopper 12? Yes, I do. So you had my primo, one of the big. Yeah, actually, I used to work with an individual from Chopper 12. It was a cool dude. I think they called him Leño. But this is already like a long, long time ago. Leño or Lento, I remember was his name. It was cool. I have long hair, bro. Sometimes I just be wanting to buzz my shit. I feel you. I feel you. I can't stand when I had to have my hair grown. Why some people tend to be more social when they drink versus when they're sober? Because of the dopamine that gets released when you drink. Because alcohol affects the prefrontal cortex, right? So it allows people to be more loose. Now, it doesn't mean that alcohol now makes people tell their honest opinions or tell it how it is, or are honest. Like, let's say, like once they're drunk, they're telling the truth about everything they're saying. Like, no, that's actually a myth, right? It does make people more confident, right? And it does make people more, interactive, right? But it doesn't necessarily mean that they're honest, right? Because people can still lie and deceive and make up stuff when they're intoxicated. That's the reason why they're not. That's the reason why people are not allowed to be intoxicated when we're talking about like having to go to court, right? Because if that was the case, they would just give everybody a fucking beer, right? The reason why people tend to be more truthful, right, is because they get the courage and the confidence. Because, like I said, it loosens them up, but not necessarily meaning that now they're being honest, right? Because they can still be, deceitful. Shit, there's people when they get drunk, they lie more, right? They feel more confident, more lies. So, don't, a lot of people get that misconstrued. Pretty much, any substance or alcohol affects the part of the brain that we have and animals don't have. It's what separates us from animals, right? The ability to how can I say, weigh in the consequences of things, right? But like I said, the more alcohol you drink, the less and less you start having that, making people more aggressive and tend to do a lot of more stupid shit, right? It's like technically, it's like what separated them from an animal has now been removed. That's why they don't think about the consequences of shit and why they don't, weigh in their options and shit like that. They just react on pure, fucking impulse. What's cracking like in Dashpool? It makes things very quick. Chick-fil-A. Shout me out. Oh, Mr. Slick. Would you pledge to a new finish? Well, I'm not religious. In reality, some who really deserve Lamborghini, Rolex watches, Gucci shirts is someone like you because you keep it real. Nah, but see, that's the thing though. Like, I actually wouldn't want that though. I get it. Like, for those who actually like that kind of stuff, right, and are into that kind of stuff, I get it. And they work hard to achieve it. That's good, right? Like I said, not everybody that has those things is like, how could I say, not like worthy of those things or didn't earn them. A lot of people do earn their shit, right? But there's some that they don't earn it, right? Or they lie to obtain those things, right? Or they scam or connive or, throw people under the bus. But what I have learned is normally those individuals always tend to end up having to pay the price at the end, whether with their relationship with their loved ones or their health or fucking, eventually their lives catch up to them. But eventually it all comes crumbling down, though. Like Vince McMahon. Or Diddy. Or Trump, for that matter. Or Epstein. And many more that have been like them. The only reason why Epstein catches a lot of people's eye and attention is because of who he associated himself with, right? And because he is, how can I say, he is a rare case when we're talking about in what he was doing, right? Because essentially not that many people know about Epstein or like who he was or how he even, made his money, right? Like Diddy, people know how Diddy made his money as a celebrity, he made music. People know how he gained his wealth, right? But Epstein's a little bit more tricky, though. Because he was a college dropout, right? And he really didn't have like, stuff showing that this guy, was, doing this and that to gain all this money, right? It's kind of like he just came out of nowhere. And people can, track how he earned his living. And there's a lot of stuff that just doesn't make any sense when you're talking about his life. Do you like Van Nuys? As in the gang or the city? You know the vatos from Hoover Street? The black gang or the Hispanic gang? The Hoover locals? Or you mean the Hoover gang? Have you ever? Yes. What would you say is the biggest difference between South and North? And I'm not talking about gangs. I'm talking about culture, food. It's kind of hard to tell, right? Because there's some individuals that are Northerners that, how can I say, like they have the Mexican and the Chicano, stilo to them, right? Like where there's not that much difference from, let's say, down here and up there, right? But then you have some other areas where they tend to, lean more into the brothers culture. But then you can say the same thing down here. The people get this misconception about like Southerners, right? Or Southsiders or whatever, right? They think that they're all like the same, like, what up, Ese and Vato, and they're bald and Cortezes and flannels, when that's not true, right? You see stuff like that, like when it comes to like the valleys or like, let's say, the East LA area and stuff like that. But if you go more to like, let's say, like the Compton, South Central, Inglewood type areas, you see them more with like Converse and Levi's and, and they tend to say, the N word, you know. Um, so their stilo's a little bit more different than, let's say, the homies from East LA, you know, and so people just, if you're not from the area, people are not gonna know this, right? Because the news is gonna only focus on how these people have already been painted, right? So they're gonna use a typical stereotype shit, right? And movies and shit like that doesn't help either, right? Because they use the typical stereotype to describe these individuals, and so if that's all that people are seeing, that's what they think that how they all are, and why they exaggerate the way that they do when it comes to like making them look like cholos. Still the shadow, yeah. The family from Choppers and East Los. That's right, my boy. Yeah, but yeah, it's cracking over here. Doesn't Violent Boys beef it with Sunfed and a lot of battles? Yeah, so do we though. We beef it with maybe like 30 different gangs or maybe more. Alcohol makes people not self-aware. Yeah, also gibberish. You know what's funny though? Like, let's say when somebody's really really drunk and they're trying to talk to you and you can't understand fucking they're saying, right? But let's say when you're drinking with the homies, right, and you're fucking drunk as fuck too, and they're drunk as fuck, and you guys could be having conversations for hours and hours, and it's like, how the fuck are you even able to understand each other? Only an intoxicated person could understand another intoxicated person. Because like y'all like they're chopping it up for hours and hours, bro. But when you're sober, you're trying to talk to them. Shit, you can't understand a word they say. That's funny. I mean, NorCal and SoCal, like gangs or anything street related. What do you like more about NorCal and SoCal? Well, I don't know. I can't really speak. Like, I haven't been, everywhere in Northern California, right? The areas that I have been to, right, it's a little bit more, like there's less stuff going on than like here in Southern California because it's so overpopulated down here, right? Like when it comes to the numbers of Northern California residents and Southern California residents, it's not even close. There's so many people. The only other fucking place that in numbers wise comes close to Southern California is, I think, New York is probably the only other place. And when I mean a big difference in numbers, I mean a gigantic difference in numbers. Like, up there we're talking about thousands, right? Like, let's say about 565 like 500,000 people, right? Compared to like the fucking like 17 million that are down here. And that's a big ass difference, a real big difference. Like, people don't understand how populated it is in Southern California. It's crazy. It's crazy. Like other areas that when I was seeing about the number of people that live in different states, right? I was mind blown, right? Because they're all in the like a few 100,000, right? Like in the whole entire state, And then when we're talking about just a portion of California, we're talking about fucking millions, right? And that in itself is crazy. Like in one area, like in a fucking like let's say in about a 5-block radius, right? You would have like maybe like about 2 elementaries and like 2 middle schools and like maybe a high school, right? And you'll be surprised how many kids come out of that bitch, bro. Like fucking, like so many is crazy, bro. Like fuck, bro. Like how are you guys packing up so many fucking schools? When people be like, how is there so many gang members though? Like, bro, you don't understand how much people there is down here. It's crazy. So like there's much more stuff going on compared to like in Northern Cali. It's a little bit more quiet. Not to say that nothing doesn't happen up there, right? but you don't see as much like as in down here with all the fucking activity that you have. Like meaning like stuff to do, like places to go. They don't go for nothing. Serio. Weed also makes people more. Yeah. Well, some people it affects them differently, right? Because some people when they smoke weed they have panic attacks. Some get more isolated. Some get more, happy. Some get more talkative. Some get more quiet. It affects people differently. That's how. That's why. That's how. When I say we're not all the same, it truly is true, right? We're not all the same. Drugs affect people in different ways as well. That's why it's not good to like just because this didn't affect you in a bad way doesn't mean that if you offer it to somebody, it's not going to affect them in a negative way, right? Because you truly don't know. That's why you're not supposed to take other people's medication, right? That medication is, prescribed to that person specifically, right? So to you, maybe the dosage that to them is good, maybe to you it might be too much, right? And you might overdose because we're not all the same genetically wise, So when people say we're all the same, or if I could do it, you can do it, or like no, that's actually not true. Some people under stress and pressure they can function really well. Some people under stress and pressure they can't handle it at all, right? Because they're just designed differently. Some people are more aggressive than others because of the levels of testosterone that they have. They have higher levels than other people, right? Genetically wise, we're all different, But people always repeat the same fucking lie, and I don't know if it's because maybe it's in the Bible that says all men were created equal, which is not true, right? Because so much evidence showing that that's not true, right? Maybe in the grand scheme of things, right? But some people are born, athletic, right? They have longer, verticals and wingspans and fucking, all of that. Some people are faster. Like, there's a reason why you haven't seen other players like Michael Jordan, bro. It's because genetically he was different. Meaning in like the size of his palm of his hand, right, to be able to grip the ball. His vertical, right? He was when he would jump in the air and other players would jump in the air, he was able to stay in the air longer than them. You know what I mean? So he was genetically gifted, right? So it's not the same. You can't say that if you put them, against each other. Obviously, he has an advantage because he was born athletic compared to, like, let's say someone that isn't. And you're saying, okay, well, they're all born the same. Everyone's the same. No, well, that's not true though. There's kids that are born right, prodigies, right? They're like 9 years old and they're already graduating fucking universities, bro. They're taking college courses at 9 years old. You know what I mean? Like, bro, we're not all born the same. So when people be like, oh man, hey bro, hey, I went through shit too, so if I could handle it, then and other people can handle it too, bro. Like, what? Also, just because you did something, like, you think everyone's the same too. Not only that, but now you're saying that everybody's predicament as well, right? Like their life situations, right? Their living situations. That's one of the things that always blew my mind, right? Like when people be like, how can these gang members do this to their families? Acting like if they know their families, like if they actually know that their parents were good parents, or like if they were saints, And I get it why they would see it like that, because maybe they have good parents, right? The relationship that they have with their parents, they can't see, how anybody would be able to do that to their parents. But not everybody's parents are good people, though, bro. And the fact that people automatically assume shit like that is crazy. Like, bro, you do not know what happens in that house once that door closes, bro. You don't know what the fuck is going on. Like, look at this guy over here. You know what I mean? That's why, sometimes when we have, like, cases that make the news, right? When we're talking about child services, right? Cases like child abuse, right? Where the kid was being tortured and chained up and fed dog food and whipped and, beaten and burned. Like, people were like, damn, hey, how did nobody know this? Exactly. You don't know what's happening once the doors close, bro. They have both parents and they have a home. Doesn't mean shit. Doesn't mean shit. You know what I mean? Look at the fucking what are the Menendez brothers? They fucking big ass mansion. They had money, and their fucking dad was sexually fucking molesting them. You know what I mean? Like you don't know what's happening in them fucking behind those closed doors. People look at them and be like, "These fools have money, bro. What the fuck did they have to complain about, or why were they upset, or why were they fucking misbehaved, bro? They had it all. They had it all. They had everything. Like I'm saying, like acting like if these fools know what's happening. You know, like damn, these fools are ungrateful. What? I don't know about you, dog, but I wouldn't change my life with them fools. I ain't trying to get molested. I mean, if you're willing to do that to get the money, I guess, fuck it, you know. You know, it's never good to assume, and a lot of people do that. Safe city in California? There is several, right? But they're kind of expensive. They're made for the wealthy elite, even though the areas are not that far apart from each other. You want to move to Cali? Where's the cheapest place to move to? The cheapest places probably to move to would probably be like the gutter, the ghettos, unfortunately. So yes, high crime rate, high homeless rate, but it's cheap. Like where I live, you know, it's not all too bad expensive, right? But every single day I hear the ghetto birds and sirens. Though I don't think there has been one night where I haven't heard the police helicopter or the police sirens, or and I'm just being fucking honest. You know what I mean? It's been a good minute that I haven't that I actually went one night without having to hear that. But it's affordable. Hey, gracias, carnal. Likewise. Oh, the city? The city is cool. You know, it is gang infested. But it's cool. Fred from the round. Hey, what's good, carnal? Saludos. Go peep out Fred's channel. You know, and check him out also on the roundtable discussions. Cool individual right there. What are your thoughts on trolls? The channel who tried to make fun of you for driving mad and wearing black shirts tour. Stuff like that doesn't bother me. You know, all that stuff is like I see what they're trying to do, so it just doesn't faze me. Like I said, I'm not insecure or like self-centered and stuff like that for people to be all like I mean, I get other people might stuff like that might rattle them, but I'm just different. Well, we don't all think the same. Luis. Orale, all right. Well, not only that, but there's other VBS that share the same, abbreviation, like the Village Boys, because they're VBS too. I actually made a video about that. What are you smiling for? Life's too short. Nah. All right, ladies and gentlemen, my lunch break is over. We got to get back to it. It was good chopping it up with you guys, and we out.